Good morning and welcome to It's How You'll Be Remembered. I am Julie Jones, your host and the Chief Encouragement Officer here at Today's Professionals. And with me today is Angie Aranda with We're Simply Organized. Angie, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, Julie, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I'm so excited too. Let me start off by saying we met networking.
Hmm.
We met, you had a booth at an
Yes.
event that I attended, and it was, you and I was walked over to your booth, was like, tell me about what you do. You had some organized organization containers on your table, and you were like, oh, look, this is how I teach people how to buy containers for a drawer. And I was like, that's genius. You were just sitting there providing value to everyone. And I thought, I need to know you. This is something
Oh,
that I need to know. How did you get started with helping people organize?
well, it really started with me doing my own home and I would post about it. And it's just something I wanted to share because I knew I couldn't be the only one dealing with all of this. And when you when people would come to my house, it was like, oh, everything's so nice and clean and whatnot. But they didn't know that I had a secret, and that was that if you open drawers or containers or closets, something was going to fall out of because I was a stuffer. I mean, I would clean things to make it look like there was nothing on my countertops, but then I would stuff
Yep.
things in places because
Right.
I didn't want to deal with it. And that's what I wanted to work on. I wanted to work on the things that nobody saw, the spaces that nobody saw, because I was looking at them. And so I started one drawer at a time. I was working corporate full time at the time, volunteering at my church, kids' sports. We were traveling a lot for sports and things. And so I didn't have a lot of time. So I started 15 minutes a day, just doing one drawer at a time, one cabinet at a time. And it took me a while to get through my house. But when I would post it and my friends were like, can you come do that at my house? Or, how can I do this and that? And they were asking me questions. I was like, there's something here. I would love to be doing this in your house. And so
Yeah.
I started doing that for friends and family and posting about it, and then just kind of things took off from there.
Right. I think that what you do is so important. And I love the story of how I started posting and then people started asking me for help because this is a part of our lives that I feel contributes to emotional stress and anxiety. I
Mhm,
think it contributes to mental health. As a matter of fact, there's research out there that
mhm,
says that a cluttered environment really does affect and impact your physical and your emotional mental health. And I found a statistic in preparing for this show. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that. That an organized work environment leads to a 38% increase in productivity. And,
mhm,
I really think that it leads to clutteredness. If you feel unorganized, you can't, it affects your ability to make decisions. And then
mhm.
when you have a family and you're running a family, you don't have systems and processes in place, which is really what organization is putting in systems and processes,
Mhm.
which any COO of a company will tell you that systems and processes are what makes the company run, other than people. People are first, but then helping them know what to do in a systematic fashion is really what helps grow that culture. And
Right.
so we start at home.
Yes.
The way you manage anything is the way you manage everything, right?
Right. 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 Well, and
So
it's true. I'm sorry, you're talking about the clutter and the mental correlation. There is a study by Princeton University Neuroscience Institute that shows that physical clutter competes with attention and then can lead to a decreased performance and, of course, increased stress. And this is very true when you start looking at your brain starts competing for attention without realizing it. You have clutter and all kinds of things all over the walls or all over, certain piles of things, but you want to sit and watch TV, for example, your brain's trying to figure out what to look at, and so there is something to the whole simplification process. And
Mhm.
not everyone's meant to be a minimalist or can do it, but we can all simplify and reduce some of those things so that we can have a better ability to make decisions and process all of that and be able to rest. And there's a reason why it feels so good to walk into a hotel room when you open that door and you're just like, oh, feels so good in here. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's only, there's very few things and you're able to rest without realizing that all of that could be contributing to it.
Oh, 100%. And I think about real estate. And,
Mhm.
when they stage homes to get ready to sell, it's the same thing. When you walk into a model home or a home that's on the market that has been professionally staged, it is minimalist. It is carefully placed items in strategic places with lighting so that when you walk in, you feel that, wow, this feels good,
Right.
right? It really
Mhm.
affects your emotions to do that. So, in my AIM methodology, A is attitude, I is image, M is the way you manage yourself. The M is something I struggle with a lot too. And it's the way you manage yourself because you get busy.
Mhm.
And the ADHD brain, which I think more of us have ADHD now than used to, because I think we're just used to instant gratification and always on the go. I think that what you just described as having the clutter and we don't know where to go or where to look for things, um, it it really does affect your productivity and your mental health because you don't know how to get through the day. And so at the end of the day, you beat yourself up because you didn't get done everything you needed to get done because you just got so distracted all day.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, we were talking before we went on the air that um, family systems are really where
Mhm.
it starts because you need to start at home.
Right.
And I have friends who have clothes galore. They have a closet just full of clothes. So much that I mean, they're just cramming them in there. Their drawers are stuffed and packed, and they've got clothes under their bed and clothes in containers. And they'll tell me, I don't have anything to wear. And that is a signal to me that they have too much, that they can't make a decision, and they really don't even know what they have. Do you
Right.
find that to be true?
Oh yes, absolutely. And I've actually said that before. If you have nothing to wear, it's because you have too much and you're not able to process that decision making and be able to just simplify. And it's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and I mean, there's a lot on the menu. You just don't know. You're trying to think of all the things that all the options and what you could want. And there's something about simplifying that and having that be, easy for someone to do.
Mhm.
But yes, the simplification when it comes to the family system is so important because here's what I have found with a lot of my clients who are professionals, they're entrepreneurs, career people. They are rocking their businesses. They are doing amazing jobs and they're bringing in, they're productive in their work. They have systems in their work, but they have neglected parts of their home because it just seems like the default to do is like
Yeah,
nobody comes in here, we'll figure it out later. Or even if they have a cleaning person to kind of do the surface things, it's almost a band-aid. It just
yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't get to the root of the simplifying and dealing with the clutter. And clutter is, depending on how we grew up, can either be something that we just naturally continue to do, or you can go on the complete opposite and think to yourself, I don't want to live like that anymore. So now I'm going to be very organized, right? So
Yeah.
I see that a lot as well.
Mhm.
But habits are so hard to break, and sometimes we want things in a quick fix, but we don't realize it's taken years to build that habit. It's taken years of bringing things into our homes, and it's so important to think of when you're at the store, when you're somewhere and you're trying to bring something in, is where am I going to put this? Like, where is it going to be? Like, take a few minutes and ask yourself that when you're
Mhm.
at the store and when you're shopping, where will this live? Where will this go? Because we're just so, busy buying things and busy doing things, and we don't really think about that. And so that doesn't help the situation.
Yeah, I think impulse buying too, and
Mhm,
here we are at the holidays, right?
mhm,
Um, and we're already decorating for Christmas.
mhm,
It's November, and we're decorating for Christmas. People have their Christmas lights up at the house, and they're getting their trees up, and they're going to be decorating for a while. And then we go to, the store and we see all these great new things. We think, oh, I want new Christmas decor. Um, and then at the end of, I mean, there are people that have so much holiday through Halloween and fall and Christmas that they have storage units.
mhm,
And so you mentioned earlier that not having systems and processes in place and having too much of things can
mhm,
affect your wallet in so many
mhm,
ways. But
mhm,
I see this one as being a big reason people have storage units is because they just have too much that they don't want to part with. And
right.
one of them is like Halloween or holiday decoration.
Mhm. Yes.
What are you seeing in that area?
It is. I think there are two ways that you can look at this. For example, for me, Christmas is really the only holiday I decorate for. I do a little bit of fall, but then I really like Christmas. I put a Christmas tree in every room. I just feel like it's nice
Mhm.
to see that and to kind of feel that piece, so with the lights and the dim lights. I enjoy it. I don't do every nook and cranny of my house. So I have the tree and I have the decorations for that tree and maybe mantle stuff and things like that. But I have chosen to make space for that, and it's up in the attic, and whatever fits in the containers is what it goes. I try not to buy too much, and if I buy something at the end of the season, I'll probably get rid of something else that was older that I can kind of replace with that. So if you allow yourself some pleasures of things that you really do enjoy, it's okay to have
Mm.
the things if you have the space. I
Right.
personally don't believe that it's always necessary to have a storage space unless there's, maybe you have a business and you have to store so many things, in those areas. But money spent on a monthly basis or a yearly basis to keep things that are only used once a year, I think, could warrant some evaluation of the items, and it really
Yeah.
is case by case. But you can also decide and say, I want to decorate for every holiday, but maybe just a few things, here and there. Maybe something I can put on the wall and not necessarily something that's going to sit on a countertop that
Yeah.
will take up space.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really an individual thing, and it kind of goes back to your friend, or some situations with closets of clients I've done that are maybe speakers or that have they are in the spotlight. They have a lot of clothes because they usually don't want to wear the same thing twice.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I find that too. Yeah. I find that too. But
yeah.
even then, if you buy solid colors and
Mhm.
just with some accent pieces,
Yes.
you don't have to necessarily buy a lot because, a black jacket is a
Right.
black jacket. I mean, it's just,
Yes. But you know, the whole closet thing and even the decoration thing, it can go back to an identity clutter. And that is something that I find too with, for example, the speakers, or even the holiday decoration. It's that becomes part of your identity, and if you don't do that, then you feel like, who am I? Who am I if I don't do all of this decorating and people know I'm the decorator, or if I don't have all this clothes, you know? And there are alternatives to finding things like maybe you can rent outfits instead of buying them and keeping them in your closet, you
Yes, you
know?
can. Yes, you can. And if you only attend, you know, one function a year where you have to have a cocktail dress or a ball gown or something like that, you can actually rent those.
Mhm.
And that just saves the space and it allows you to have a new dress every time, you know,
Right, right.
uh, because, wearing those more than once is, is hard because people are like, oh, I saw you wear that, a
Yeah.
few years ago, and I do. I've repeated those several times, but at the same time, you know, I don't get dressed up for those kind of events all the time. So,
Right.
but I think you're right, especially, identity clutter. I love what you said because, speakers have a brand, right? It's
Mhm.
I want to always be on brand. And so they buy pieces that are branded. So they have these branded clothes and then they have clothes for when I'm not going to be on brand. Maybe I'm just out with my family or friends or I'm just really casual. And so that then needs space in the closet.
Mhm.
So you have
Right.
to make sure that you do that. But I think as we're having this conversation, what is going through my mind is years ago, and I would say 20 years ago, I was going through a very rough time, a transition time in my life. And I was knew I was getting ready to move and get a house ready to sell. And our home office was the space where when people were coming over, we just grabbed everything and threw it in the office and shut the door and, just,
Mhm.
oh, welcome to our home. It's all nice and clean, but it really wasn't. And I
Yeah.
knew it. And so all of that emotional clutter is like up in here in my head, right? It's
Yes.
emotional. Like I know it's there but, I needed to clean out that office, and
Mhm.
I didn't know where to start, and I didn't have the ability to make decisions, because when your
Mhm.
head is cluttered, there's not room for anything else,
Right.
right? You have to have the ability to make decisions, and so a friend of mine came over and said, "Ugh, we can get this done," and so she starts unpacking boxes because we had moved, and there were boxes in that office that I hadn't unpacked yet, and we'd lived there for 8 years. So, like, do I need anything in that box? If I haven't opened that box in 8 years, do I even need to open that box right now? But
Right.
we did, and she went through and she found things like closing papers on a home that we had bought in the '80s. And she goes, "What are
Wow.
you doing?" So she was making decisions for me because I couldn't. And
Right.
she would put things in boxes and she goes, "Okay, we're going down to, UPS. We're going to shred this. We're going to pay money. We're going to shred it, but it's going to be gone." And it was worth
Right.
it. And
Yes.
literally in like 3 hours max, I had a brand new office. I mean, because I had purchased the furniture for the office, but I didn't I couldn't see it. And so
Mhm.
I remember the next morning walking into that office going, "I feel like working." This
Yes.
is the first time that I felt like working. And it felt like a load had been lifted off my shoulders. And I'm so grateful for that friend. And that's really what you do for your clients, right?
Yes. I am that friend, and I am that voice of permission sometimes, if you will. Is that sometimes we feel like we need someone to just tell us what to do
Yeah.
and or help us with that decision-making process. And I've seen this so many times where and I've asked questions when I'm in groups and I said, "How many of you have sat at your desk and couldn't start working because now you have to clean it first or tidy things up and now you wasted, 30 minutes just trying to tidy up before you actually start working." It's a natural thing. It's normal. It happens to all of us. But the
Mhm.
less that we have on our flat surfaces and the more frequent we do resets, then it helps to it's okay to have things out while you're working on them, but it'll a quick reset will help reduce that. And
Right.
even if you have to be strategic enough to say, I'm going to do a reset before lunch, and then I'll do a reset before I'm done for the day.
Yep.
And just do and I suggest that with parents that have toys, with their kids. It's let's do a
Yes.
quick toy pickup before lunch, and then we'll do another one at the end of the day, because if you let things go, it just takes longer, and it seems like it'll take longer, but
Yep.
it really doesn't. It could be a quick thing, and I've always told people, set a timer and see how long it actually takes you to do this. Don't rush through it, just do it like you normally would. And they find that it's only a few minutes. And so when I say, okay, if it was only 8 minutes that it took you to do this, at the end of the day, schedule 10 minutes or 8 minutes to
Yeah.
do that, or do a quick pickup in living room or wherever it is.
Right.
But
Right. I think that's the great advice. And what a valuable lesson that is to teach your children to
mhm,
go, to schedule pickup because you're teaching them how to stay organized and teaching them how to implement systems and processes, which is
mhm,
really going to help them when they get into their first career. Because it's one of the things that we find with our young professionals coming out today, coming out of college, is as they go into their first job, they're not really sure how to navigate that
right.
professional world. And part of it is how do you organize and stay productive during the
Yes.
day? And so starting when they're young by something simple like let's pick up our toys before we eat lunch and
Mhm,
let's pick up our toys before we go to bath and bedtime
right.
is just invaluable.
Yes. Yes.
So we have a comment. Sarit is with us. Thank you for joining us. He says, Monica move. That's a term at my house. I don't know if he means Monica move, like everybody get up and move and clean and get ready, or if he is moving, if he's got an organizer in his home that is Monica move, like helping him pack.
It
But
sounds like a term from the show Friends,
oh,
Monica.
there you go. From Friends. There you go. Now I see
Yeah,
it. Now I see
yeah.
it. Monica Move. There you go. So that's great. Thank you for joining us for that and throwing that in. Sorry, I didn't catch the whole Friends thing. Uh, that's just my mind is like focused here. But I am want to talk about moving. Um,
Mhm.
I did not even think before, but my daughter-in-law, or my daughter, and her family have moved a couple of times. And oh, here he is. He says that's from the show Friends. He said where she shoved things in the closet.
Yes,
The Monica move. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think we all do that.
very common. Yes.
That's why it's so funny is because we all relate to that, right? Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Um, and her mother-in-law have moved a few times recently in the last few years, and they have called in people like you to come in and help them pack and then unpack so that everything is organized when they move because that's part of my problem is I try to all do it myself.
Mhm.
It is so valuable to call someone like you, Angie, to come in and say, let's organize it as we pack it. And then
Mhm.
as we unpack it, let's come in and get it set up from the get-go. And it may take a few days. We may do the kitchen one day, the bedroom one
Mhm.
day. Um, but but then you know where things are, they're labeled. I love opening the pantry and having it just, containers that are labeled. And it just makes me feel so good.
Mhm.
Um, tell me about how that would help somebody start a new chapter in their life.
So that's a great question. And I actually have a friend in that process right now, and she's been in that house almost 12 years, and they had a need to move because the landlord was selling the house. And so now it's almost like an emergency situation where they, have to make intentional decisions. But I said, "This is the best time," and it is really an adventure for her because it's like you're doing things that you've wanted to do and just didn't have the motivation to do it. And so now being very intentional about take only what you want to move into your new house. And here's the thing, when we move, what fits in the old house doesn't fit in the new house, where even decorations or decor or furniture, things that might not match the style or things just don't go. But you don't want to bring in, especially if you've had bad memories in the home or just things that just you don't want to bring with you, in in here, right? That you just want to start over, is really be intentional about those things. And when you are purging before the packing, it helps to not bring in those things with you, so you're
Amen.
not bringing that old baggage that has just
Uh-huh.
weighed you down over time, like, you're just ready to start over. And I
Mhm.
understand sometimes finances are tight and we're not able to buy new things, but you don't necessarily you already have the things, you're just discarding some of the things that you don't want to bring with you, right? But it is so important, especially with as we get older, is to realize that we cannot, and especially with our parents as they get into this age, is a lot of times we think that our kids want everything, that I'm just gonna leave everything to the kids and they don't want our stuff, you know? And so we need to be really good about helping our older parents and our aging parents to realize that we need to make decisions now about some of this stuff, because if we don't, they are our kids, or we, right? Like if our older generation doesn't get intentional, we don't help them. We are the ones, and our kids are the ones that will then have to take time off of work to be cleaning things out. They'll have to pay junk haulers or people just to get rid of things. And honestly, what will happen is things will just be thrown away.
Right.
And so it's important to feel like you want your stuff to be honored and give it away intentionally to people that might want it or donate it,
Mhm.
and not have those our children being put in them in situations where now they'll just be overwhelmed because they're already mourning the loss of the loved one, and now on top of that having to increase their financial, outpouring because they have to take care of these things. So it's a
Right.
lot. There's a lot involved in that, but my goal is to help families enjoy their life right now, live on the weekends. I was one that would clean on Saturdays. That's how I was raised. We do all the living on the weekday, and on Saturdays we clean, and we don't go anywhere until it's all done.
Right.
Well, that wasn't working when you have kids, multiple kids in multiple sports, and you have to be gone on Saturdays. So then when do
Right.
you clean and when do you tidy? And so it just became a thing of we just got to do it every day. Every day
Yes.
we do something, and we don't have to have these panic cleanings whenever people are coming over. And
Right. Right. Or an unexpected guest that
uh-huh.
shows up and just you're like, "I can't let you in the house."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I've been there because like I said, this is an ongoing thing for most of us. And it
Yeah.
is for me too. And even
Yeah.
though I teach it, and the more I teach it, the better I get at home, right?
Mhm.
So I've learned that in the mornings, as I get dressed, when I'm finished, I'll take a Clorox wipe and just wipe down my bathroom counters real quick. It
Yep.
makes it smell good. And it just, if somebody were to come over, then I wouldn't be embarrassed,
Right.
right? And so if you do those little things throughout the day, okay, I'm going to pick up the toys before lunch, before nap time, and pick up the toys before bed. It just incorporate these things into your life. It
Mhm.
really does help. And if you are in, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're like, "Ugh, my house is a mess. I need to work. I can't work." What is your best advice for someone who is just in this circle? They're just, like the tornado going down the drain. You're just swirling. You're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What would you suggest as a place to get started for a work at home mom or parent who is just like, I'm not getting anything done? Where should they start?
So it depends if you have the time. If you have the time, then it's a matter of the intentionality of what you do with that time, and start small and be proud of the progress as you go. But if you don't have the time, which is what I find with a lot of my clients, is they just have no time. They can do it. They're capable. They know how. They
Mm.
just don't have the time to do it. My team and I will come in and, for example, if we do a whole house or, half of a house, depending on what package they pick, and I just use that term loosely, but let's say
Yeah.
someone were to pick a 48-hour package, what we'll do is my team will not, will have 4 organizers on site, and we'll split up into different areas, and we will knock that out quick. And so it's easier to work for us to work in a larger amount of hours, because I'll bring my team and we'll tackle it and knock it out. So you can come home and within a few days have it done,
Yeah.
have multiple
Yep.
rooms done. But
Yeah.
if you're not able to do that, if it's something that you want to start yourself and do your own, just start small, start one drawer at a time, one closet at a time. Maybe even have a friend like you did come over, and then maybe at once you can do a swap. You'll come and do your house at one time, and next time you go and do a room in their house, and help each other that way. So,
Mhm. I love the idea of having you come over and just say, I want this closet done,
mhm,
and just do it. And then when I walk in, it's like done. But I know that there are times where it's just, look, I can't do that right now. It's Christmas, whatever. But you're at the holidays. Just start somewhere. Pick an
mhm,
hour, take an hour, get up early before you start your day and just, or before you finish your day, stop taking appointments early or at like 4 or 3 and say, I'm going to spend an hour doing this because systems and processes are important. And if your mind is cluttered,
mhm.
you're just not going to get much done. And it does really affect your mental health.
Right,
It really
right.
does,
And
because you're not
starting
resting.
small. I'm so sorry, Julie. Go ahead.
You're fine. No, well, I was just saying you're not resting because you don't have a place to go where you feel good, like you just go breathe because there's all this clutter.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and I was going to encourage someone is, when I say starting small, even one drawer at a time. That's how I started, one drawer. By the end of 2 weeks, my whole entire kitchen was done, because I was only working at my pace, you know. I
Mhm.
would do I would do one cabinet, get rid of all the mugs we didn't use. Like, why on earth did we have all the plastic cups from all the restaurants that we've
Yeah,
gone to, or sporting events? We
yeah,
don't need all that. I mean, it got to a point where I told my kids, pick one cup for water and one cup for everything else. Like, they like their soda or their tea in a different cup. And that was it. Everybody gets one, because I was tired of washing dishes all the time, because they would grab a drink, put it in the sink, grab another drink, put it in the sink. It was just piling up. And so the less you have, the less you have to manage. And so it's just
right.
that small progress is going to make you
Yeah.
feel really good.
Yes. We're gonna have healthier, happier families, when people start to implement strategies.
Right. And
And
then you
if
get your family involved too.
yeah,
Getting
I think
the
so.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y you're
So, 2 tips that I have for the families. Number 1 is set a timer and do a 5-minute cleanup. So everybody's at home at the end of the day, set a timer for 5 minutes. Everybody is working. Someone might be vacuuming, someone might be clearing out the kitchen table, someone might be folding the blankets. And if there's 4 of you in the house, you get 20 minutes of work done in 5 minutes. And also, I encourage moms to let their kids do laundry. Teach them how to do their own laundry. There's no reason why we should be doing our kids' laundry when they're in middle school and high school. It's something. It's a skill that they need to learn, and something that will take things off of your plate. And you're teaching them responsibility so they can have their things ready when they need them.
Yes. And responsibility and contribution to the family,
That's
that
right.
we're a team.
Yep.
It's not mom does all, but it
That's right.
is we are a team and you're responsible for your room and your clothes because they're going to go away one day
Mhm.
and live on their own and they're not going to know what to do if we don't teach them.
Right.
So, yes. So, we're simplyorganized.com is your website, and that's the
Hmm.
best place to reach you, but you're also right here on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and
Yes.
I suggest go follow her. She is a wonderful, she's got great tips, and, this is something that if you really wanna change your life, getting organized and setting up these systems and processes, involve the family, involve the kids, it will change your life. Um,
Definitely.
yes, and before we go, and I'm so grateful for you, by the way, for these wonderful tips that you've given and great conversation. But I always like to ask people, this show is called "It's How You'll Be Remembered" because I used to teach just etiquette, and I used to say it's not just etiquette; it's how you'll be remembered. But I
Hmm.
like to always ask the guest, how will you be remembered?
Um, I think that there's a big part of me that wants to help people find in peace and enjoy the life that they have now. I didn't do that for a long time. And so I would love to be remembered by helping people love their home, partner with their home and not fight with it, know how to collaborate and enjoy those special moments with your family, and just really live in a peaceful environment. And I would love to help people do that. So I would love to be remembered as someone that helped people love their home and live in peaceful environments and um, and just be able to enjoy that.
Yeah, peace. I love that. I want a peaceful environment. And that's a great way to be remembered. And I love that you said that because peace, that already gives me just like a, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Angie, thank you so much for being with us today. And I am so glad that we met. And I love what you do. And I wish you continued success in helping others find peace.
Thank you for having me, Julie. It's been great. I've loved meeting you and I look forward to continuing to work with you and partner with you in many ways.
Absolutely. Me too. We've got lots of work to do.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you. Have a good day.